Welcome to the weather forecast on CIA TV channel. Dear friends, in today's forecast, we're going to break down what you need to know about the weather that will affect the United States over the next 7 days. The weather is going to be very changeable over the next few days, as there's a significant chance of severe weather over the next few days. But a major temperature change is coming to the United States, where some areas will continue to face record high temperatures, but a large cold front is on the horizon that will bring some comfort to millions of Americans. And we'll start with what's happening across the country today. We've just had a major severe weather day across the northern plains and the Midwest, where we've had a large mesoscale convective system, one of which originated in South Dakota. We don't expect any major threats of damaging winds from this system as it disintegrates as it moves into the Midwest. However, today we will see more severe weather in the central and northern plains, as well as in the Midwest, where we will see more damaging winds, large hail, and possibly even isolated tornadoes, along with a series of other storms that could move in a straight line, bringing stronger winds and possibly even multiple damaging winds. And yesterday's severe weather obviously caused a lot of damage across the northern plains in the Midwest. The majority of our tornadoes were in southern South Dakota, where we had at least 3 different tornadoes, and then back in northwest Iowa, where we think we had at least 1 tornado. Overall, no tornado outbreaks, but we did have a few tornadoes yesterday. Over the next few days, we expect a major shift in weather patterns across the United States. That's what's going on right now. We have a large upper level ridge of pressure that's currently building across the southern plains. That's holding the heat and the moisture across the southern plains. And then look at our jet stream and our mid-level flow. It's very far north, also dipping a little bit along the west coast. But what's really important is that as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, this ridge will continue to move westward. That will allow the northwest flow to reactivate in the Midwest, the northern plains, and across the Ohio Valley in the northeast, bringing much colder weather across those areas. So we're expecting temperatures to drop at least 10 to 20 degrees in most of these areas by Thursday or Friday of this week. So colder weather is ahead. By the end of the week and early next week, we don't really expect much of a difference in our weather pattern. High pressure will move back into the southern plains, and then generally we expect mostly zonal winds across the Pacific Northwest through the Midwest and into the Northeast, which means that significant and major severe weather events are unlikely for about a week or so to come. Or later today, these are the extreme heat warnings that are in effect across the Mississippi River Valley today. We even have some in the Ohio Valley and a little bit in Georgia. But all of these orange boxes are heat warnings. They'll go away sooner or later. We're getting back to a slightly more normal weather pattern as Canada starts to see some cooler weather, which will remove most of the current heat warnings and means much nicer weather ahead. Over the next few days, we're expecting a big temperature change. Right now, above average temperatures remain along the Great Lakes through the Ohio Valley and into the southern plains in the southeast. But by Wednesday and Thursday, we've got a cold front moving through the central and northern plains, the Midwest, and back into the northeast, with below average temperatures returning. Many areas will see highs in the 70s to 80s. By the end of the week, below average temperatures will extend as far south as Texas and even closer to the Gulf Coast by the end of the week and early next week. This cold front is really going to drop south, and then by the first week or the first weekend of August, we'll likely start to see above average temperatures return across the Great Plains. Typically when this happens, we start to see a return to severe weather, but as we move into August, severe weather isn't as frequent as what we saw in June or July. Overall, nothing too severe, but at least this is a hint that we'll start to see a return to severe weather around the second week of August. The actual temperatures over the next few days are going to be very hot, especially in the central and southern plains. Today we're looking at highs in the low to mid 100s, but by Wednesday and Thursday things should really be more pleasant. If you go back to the Midwest Ohio Valley, back to the Northeast, talking about highs in the 70s and 80s, it really doesn't get much better than that. Back in Dallas-Fort Worth, we're expecting highs near 108 on Thursday. By Friday and Saturday, the colder weather will finally arrive for those of us near the Gulf Coast. Temperatures will drop into the 90s in most areas, even into the 80s. Sunday could be in the 70s in Georgia. It's been great, but by the middle and end of next week, which is the first weekend of August and the beginning of the second week of August, we'll see temperatures return to the Great Plains. Now let's talk more about the potential for severe weather over the next few days, starting today, which is Tuesday. We have a risk of severe weather from central Iowa, near Des Moines, all the way down to Montana, and a small threat including Chicago, all the way down to Colorado, where all the severe weather hazards are possible today. But the biggest concern will be strong winds. In fact, we could see stronger winds later today in central and eastern Nebraska and back into western Iowa, where gusts could reach 70 to 80 miles per hour. Additionally, damaging winds will extend from Montana toward Chicago. Some large hail is also possible, primarily near Wyoming, Montana, as well as South Dakota and northwestern Nebraska. The Storm Prediction Center is not issuing a tornado warning at this time, but based on the outflow boundary that we can see later today, I would not rule out the possibility of isolated tornadoes in Nebraska, Iowa, and southeastern South Dakota, so stay tuned. We have two minor severe weather threats on Wednesday, one from southern New England back into Missouri, and one from the high plains, where high winds will be the biggest concern, and some scattered large hail is also a possibility. On Wednesday, we have no severe weather warnings as of now. On Thursday, but as is typical at this time of year, we usually see a threat issued in the later forecast. So it's possible we'll have a minor threat somewhere, but for now, Thursday doesn't look like a severe weather day. Now for today's severe weather setup, we're not expecting much of a tornado risk, but keep in mind that the significant tornado parameter values at least have a small corridor back into Nebraska, Iowa, and southeastern South Dakota, where there could be isolated tornado risk. It's going to depend on the storm regime. If we get a sporadic supercell for whatever reason later today, I think there's at least a low-end chance of us getting tornadoes, but overall the threat of widespread tornadoes is going to be low. We could also see a tornado spin somewhere in Wyoming or Montana, but again, overall the risk is going to be low. So that's the timing for today. We're not really expecting a lot of storms this morning, but by late afternoon, which is around 5 to 6 o'clock, storms will flare up again into South Dakota and western Nebraska, where damaging winds and large hail will be the biggest concern. Initially, we're probably going to have a line of storms at 7 to 8 across South Dakota, eventually moving into Iowa and extreme southern Minnesota, and we could see damaging winds as high as 60 to 75 miles per hour at times in some of these areas around midnight or so. The storms will move through Des Moines as well as near Omaha, Nebraska, and then eventually into the overnight hours, these storms will continue to push down into the south and southeast. This storm looks like it's in the Midwest today. I think Chicago and also near Wisconsin will be pretty quiet today, but we could have a little bit of activity off the coast here of Lake Michigan, maybe a little bit of sea breeze activity that could lead to a few sudden storms that could produce strong winds and hail. Otherwise, we're just talking about a big straight line to your west tonight that's going to produce strong winds. This storm will likely dissipate overnight and early Wednesday morning, but at least some isolated strong winds will continue into Wednesday morning, Wednesday. And then on Wednesday afternoon, we'll see some more unexpected storms across areas like Indiana, Missouri, all the way up to Kansas, as well as through Iowa, where we'll continue to see at least some damaging winds and hail. Generally, the tornado risk on Wednesday is low, but I could see an isolated tornado somewhere in the Ohio Valley. And then later this Wednesday, we're expecting a little more severe weather possible on Thursday, possibly moving back into the mid-Atlantic region. I expect some more information in the outlook as we head into late Thursday and Friday. Look for high pressure to build at the surface across the Midwest in the Ohio Valley, which will help keep things dry, and overall things should be pretty good. Honestly, nice weather. I think that throughout the weekend in the Midwest, we're going to have some isolated severe storms that will return to the Great Plains as we head into the weekend. Not expecting anything really big, and then next week, things are looking pretty quiet. We could start to see some more significant severe weather return around August 5th, 6th, or 7th, but I don't really believe that we're going to see anything major, probably at least for a short period of time. So at least for now, enjoy the nice weather. I mean, we're going to be talking about some really nice weather patterns across the United States, And I think overall, you're going to enjoy the next 7 days, especially if you're in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, or back in the Northeast. We will continuously update the storm situation in the next news. Please subscribe to the channel to follow. Thank you for watching the news on CIA TV channel.